Hey friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge. Today we're taking a look at something from Real Steel Knives. These guys right here. I bought this hat, I bought this knife, and paid the same retail price as anybody else would. I got this knife a little while ago. Had it shipped to my sister's I had this shipped directly to me because it's a slip joint knife. It also comes as a front flipper. So you get two main ways of this knife. It's designed by Ivan D. Bragnetz, who's designed a lot of Real Steel knives. And we've got a large slip joint knife here, or the same size, same main dimensions in the liner lock front flipper version. But of course, I'm looking at the slip joint. I've been a huge fan of slip joint knives for a long time. What do I think of this thing? Got a pocket clip, we got a lanyard hole. We've got a traditional back spring slip joint with a half stop. What do I think of it? I'll tell you, I'll do a partial teardown, at least a partial. Take at least one of the handle scales off, show you some stuff in there. I might take a complete teardown. We'll see as we go. Would you please consider interacting with this video? Leave a comment down below, hit that like button, share it, do something, please. That really does help me out because I don't make any money off this channel due to some financial restrictions I have with my pension through my, previous work insurance. I cannot earn any money doing this. So YouTube doesn't let me, so I can't put advertising on the YouTube, which means YouTube doesn't promote the video as widely as they would if I had advertising like I used to have. So my channel just sort of is stagnating a little bit because of the limitations, because I don't have ads turned on. So you helping me out really does help me out. It really does. So without any further ado, let's take a good close look at this knife. Here's the kind of box it comes in, which is very typical for Real Steel. And there we go. It's the Rosewood 7681W for the Rosewood Serenity slip joint knife. And, the nice box system. I really like it. It came with this, and I'll show you that in a second, because I bought this directly from Real Steel from their website. I used to have an affiliate link for them when they had realsteelshop.com. That's now gone. It's just realsteelknives.com. They used to have realsteelknives.com where they showed their products and then they sold them on realsteelshop.com. Now realsteelknives.com is everything for them. And, the Serenity. And this is sort of what the knife looks like with the teardown. There you go. There's a focused view of that, but I'm going to try to show you that in teardown later on. Real Steel knives have always come with a nice gray microfiber cloth. Maybe not always, but almost always since it was a very young company. And here's the knife. So let's clean up this space here. And, like I said, I was going to show you this. This is just a little tool that comes from them. They got their real RSK logo there. We've got a T6 on this side, a T8 on this side, a little Phillips on this side, a little flat driver on that side, and then we've got 4 different sizes for nut drivers. I haven't measured those. This thing's a little bit gimmicky. I'll show you why. Real Steel has always done very good hardware. Their tolerances are very good. But if I put this into the T8 slot there, there's a fair bit of looseness to it. This part is the part that's not in high tolerance. This is a little bit of a toy. Here's some T6s, same thing. There's a lot of freedom there. So I'm not going to use this. I'm not even going to suggest this as a practical tool to use. It's kind of cool, but it's nothing spectacular or special. Let me double check. I do have a magnet near here. I think I got a magnet near here. Let's see. It's steel because it's totally magnetic. So it's a steel tool, which is good because if it was aluminum, that'd be very bad. Titanium would be good. I'd like that, but it's a steel tool. So let's put that aside and take a look at this knife. Rosewood, you can also get it with olive wood. You can also get it with ebony. This is pretty nice. We've got inset handle scales. So we've got these liners sticking out a little bit, and then this back spring, which is rounded over all the way around and comes all the way to the back here. very comfortable. The liners here are rounded a bit as well. The wood here has got milling on it. Let's see, if I hold it like that, the milling goes pretty much straight across. Fine little milled lines just to give a little bit of texture, to give it a little better grip. That wood's got a really nice character to it. That side looks just very, very nice. I really like that classic rosewood. This side's got a little bit darker streaks in it and a little bit lighter areas than a lot of rosewood does, but still looks really, really nice. I'm very happy. Everything's been milled properly. It's to shape. There's no splinters anywhere. It's no roughness. Really well done wood. And like I said, the liners stick out a little bit. They've even put in a lanyard hole right there, which is a good full-size lanyard hole. You can easily get 550 paracord through there, and it's a full tube, so you won't have trouble, weaving your lanyard through there. We've got a pocket clip on this guy, and it's a deep carry clip that can go on either side. We've got a space right there in the liner, so you can put it on either side. So this is 100% ambidextrous. Carry it either way. I know some guys like to carry, especially these kind of slip joint knives, or most knives, just totally in their pocket without any pocket clip. So this could come off and it would still look very, very nice. There's not going to be a cutout spot, where the pocket clip used to be. It's just going to be that screw there and that tiny little hole back here on both sides if you choose to do it that way. Now the handle shape, let's get the blade out of the way. We've got a little bit of a swell in here. It comes back for your last couple fingers and then it's angled back a little bit again. Fits completely in my hand right here. Now my hand width is just in the extra large range. My finger length isn't quite extra large, but I've got a wide hand, and so extra large hands, and yet it fits in there, lots of room. This is a big knife, and I'll give you the full dimensions later on. We've got a stop pin right down in there, which touches right here when it closes. So you can just smack it closed and the edge is going to be safe. The edge is not going to come in contact in the back and roll the edge or anything. It's just well done. The handle, no hot spots in hand, very comfortable. Like I said, everything's rounded over. Transitioning to the blade, we got jimping on the spine here on this back spring, and it goes into the blade. And then we've got sort of a harpoon style blade, sort of a drop point. Maybe it's a marriage of a harpoon and a drop point, because it's just got a tiny little rise right there. And then it drops in over here. And it's a full flat grind. And we've got a big belly back here, a little bit of a straight section there. Swedge that comes all the way from the beginning of this rise almost to the tip. And we've got a bead blast finish on this N690. I hope they make this with a premium steel as well. That would be really nice. If it sells really well, I'm sure that they will make some. Don't know that for a fact. It's just, I think that they probably will. It's a good blade shape. We got a nail nick on this side and a nail nick on that side. Remember I said it's 100% ambidextrous. And so those two nail nicks make it easy just to pinch. You don't have to put your nail in there, just pinch and grab and, open the knife up. Like I said, we've got that half stop. I guess it's technically a 2/3 stop or whatever, or a 1/3 stop, whichever you want to call it, but it's a half stop. Blade alignment, pretty much perfect. It's right down the middle, just like you want it to be. And when the blade's deployed, there's no blade play. Of course, on slip joint knives like this, there's often a tiny bit of play. And, I don't call it blade play. It's going to have washers in there. It's old school. So a tiny bit of play. You don't want to tighten this up too much, but it's quite nice. There's no rock in it. The detent, well, it's not technically a detent, but the back spring here is pushing down on the tang of this blade enough so that it, of course, wants to stay open because the spring's pushing it that way. And if you push it too far, it just stops there, so your hand is safe on this side. Get your hand out of the way and close it. Well done. The spine is rounded here and flat up here and very pointy. Comes quite thin. Thin edge, not super thin, but nice thin edge, just the way I like it. And very, very nice. That's sort of the general overview of what you can see. How well does this blade cut? I like N690. I prefer 14C28N, but I like N690. and it cuts quite well. Came quite sharp from the factory, nice and decently thin at this edge. And like I said, it's a big knife. Like this is almost 3.5 inches in the blade, just shy of it a tiny bit. It doesn't do a lot of fingerprinting, which I like. Satin finishes, my prints get left everywhere, like very obvious prints. There's clearly prints here, but it's not super obvious on the camera, on the screen, that I've got my fingerprints on there. So yeah, that's good. Badging, Real Steel has been getting a little bit better with their badging. It's not a big black, dark, Real Steel there, but I wish it was made smaller, especially since it's on the main bevel. When you got a full flat grind, it's hard to put it somewhere else. But maybe if they just put their RSK up on the Picasso right here, that'd be nice. On this side, we've got the N690 right there, and then there's Ivan D. Bregnit's logo right there. So at least they're not super, super black and dark, and on that bead blast, it looks good. We've got shiny finish on the rest of the steel that's on this knife, on the handle everywhere. Pocket clip, well, here's my main con for this knife. I don't like this pocket clip. It's comfortable in hand, when I'm using it and everything. It's not a problem. I don't mind that. What I don't like this pocket clip for is for its intended use. That is, if you're wearing jeans. Now jeans, this part here, and I asked my wife what this is called, and she wasn't sure what it's called. She used to do clothing sewing professionally, but this seam here, it's not really a seam. Like this is a seam here, where two pieces of fabric are coming together. This is just folded over. Well, I guess it's two pieces because of the liner. But anyways, that gets thicker. And because that's thicker, there can be a problem. Now, we've got the spoon coming up nice and big right here, which is good. So it easily starts. But when you put it on, some denim and some of the pants I have is just too thick right here to go all the way down. Now, this demonstration pair, it works just fine. So if your pants tend to have a fairly thick seam here, this might not be excellent for you because there's a little less room between the steel and the wood here than a lot of knives have. That little space where my pinky fingernail is right now, I don't know if you can see it in there, that little space in there, it's a little bit small. So on some pants, it would stick out like this because it's pulling on, and then you're asking for this to get a little bit weaker and not so good. So you might want to think about that. Like I said, these ones for demonstration purposes are just fine. You can even see it's not tight there. It's free moving. The pinching is right down here. So I've got some pants that was a little bit tight on. Now I could bend this out a little bit here and then put another bend down here for it to go back down and make it work. And that's not hard to do. It's just, I wish they would have made just a little bit more room there, and it wouldn't take very much at all. But that's the way it is. Let's show the rest of that pocket clip. Going to the other side, or show you how it works. So take that screw out, and I like that Real Steel does not use thread locker, at least hardly ever. So that screw doesn't have thread locker on it. And I can just sort of wiggle this, wiggle it side to side while I'm pushing it out. Is it coming out? That's tight fitting. I don't want to push too hard. Let me see, where's that? I've got a different microfiber cloth here. Let's use this. I'm just keeping it closed so I can push on it right here a little bit. That doesn't want to come out. Oh, there might be a pin in there. See, I haven't taken this apart yet at all. So I'm learning with you. So sometimes when you're learning stuff, you got to take a closer look. Let me take a look in there. That steel pin, you can see the steel pin right there. It does come out into the wood on this side, and looks like it comes into the wood on that side too, so that might not be a good design at all. We'll see. Turn that in a few threads, and then I'll try to push that pin back. Sorry, I have to do this off camera. There we go. So I pushed the pin in deeper, so now the pin's focus right here. So I pushed the pin in deeper because I screwed in a few threads and then pushed on it, so it's close to the surface there. So now I can take this out, and did I push it far enough? I'm not sure if that's far enough yet. That still might not be far enough. That's not a good thing. That's not a great thing at all. And I don't want to just shove something in there and screw up the threads. So there we go. Now the pin's quite proud right there. You can see it sticking out just a little bit there. And now I got to take the screw back out again. There we go. It's down there. There we go. So that's a bit of a bad design, Real Steel. That's not a great design feature. If you want to put it now to the other side, now I got to push that pin back in deeper. But that's how that works. That's how that works. So there's your pocket clip. And like I said, to bend it, I would bend it right here, just so that this part comes out a little bit more. Focus right here. So bend it right where that spot is, so this comes out a bit more. And then bend it right here so that the tip comes down again a little bit, and then it would be more functional. But we're going to do a bit of a tear down here. Let's take this handle scale all the way off. And I need the T8. Maybe a tiny bit of thread locker on there. And now I can take this wood off, I'm sure. There you go. So there's the wood. This side's rough. It's not sanded 100% smooth. It's a little bit of oil on here from the pivot. And we've got a D-shaped pin here, but the hole looks round on this side. The hole's probably D-shaped on this side because it didn't spin along at all. And there's a screw here to hold the liner on. And then a pin here and a pin here. Not bad. Let's see, I'm going to take that liner off. I'm going to risk it. I'm going to risk it. Yes, I am. So let's take this off. So the camera just stopped for a second. It said it exceeded its limits. I think that's space limits. But I just took this screw out here. And let's see if I can take this liner off now. And I want to do it without marring any of this shiny steel. So there we go. Use the tool they provided. Pry it up on the pivot pin just a little bit. There you go. So what do we have? We've got a phosphor bronze washer. Just one. Very, very thin one. A little bit of oil back here. And it's good to have some oil there because you got moving parts here. And I'm going to keep this together. I'm not going to take it all the way apart because this back spring is actually pretty strong. So this piece of metal here, it's all one piece. So traditional back spring, that's how it's made. It's actually made quite well. Very happy with that. Good design. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of lubricant and put it back together. So I'm mostly put it back together again. I'm just putting the pocket clip back in spot. So I just inserted it because this pin is sticking out still, as you can see there. So what I did was I used a tool and just used a flat section and I push it in, pushing down on the knife handle and pushing a little bit on that steel. There we go. Push it in as far as it goes that way. And now the screw should fit in there. And I put it in there. Does it grab it all? There we go. It's grabbing now. And so what I have to do is I have to tighten it far enough that it draws this pin back in. So let's do that. And it's going to take a little while, a number of turns. And you can see that pin get drawn back in. And it doesn't have to go super far as long as it goes back in into the wood far enough so that I can put the other side in. And since it's threaded right to the very bottom, I can put that in there, no problem. So let's do that. Now it's all tight, everything's back in place. So now you know how to move that over. I'm sure some people have bought this and had some difficulty moving that over, and that's what you need to do. Let's just see. Yep, I don't have the pivot pin too tight. Now it's time to do all the dimensions, all that other stuff, all the stats and specs on this knife. Let's begin with the weight of this knife, 99 grams, 3.49 ounces, so 3.5 ounce knife. Not bad, it is a big knife. The sharpness from the factory, I tested it 3 times on my tester, average score of 160 best, which is quite good. The cutting edge length, so from my thumbnail to the tip of the blade, which happens to be exactly the same as from the edge of the liner there to the tip of the blade, 86.8 millimeters, 3.42 inches. So like I said, just under 3.5 inch blade, nice. Thickness of this blade stock, 2.97 millimeters, which is 0.117 of an inch, so just under 1/8 of an inch. And the blade depth, the widest point's right here at the sort of harpoon ramp, 25.2 millimeters, 0.992, so almost a 1 inch deep blade. The thickness behind the sharpening grind right there, the blade there is 0.47 millimeters or 18.5 thousandths of an inch thick. Tiny bit thicker at the tip and a tiny bit thinner at the heel. It's sort of almost consistently getting thinner towards the back, but this is only down like to 17 thou, and this is like 20.5 thou near the tip. So not bad, average is 18.5. The handle length, and I'm not counting the pocket clip sticking out, just the liners, the widest, the longest point, 113.6 millimeters, 4.47 inches. So yeah, that's a big handle. The grip area is about 10.5 centimeters, depending on where you measure it to, which is a little over 4 inches, just barely. The thickness of the handle scales, it's a little thicker right down the middle. It is a 3D milled piece of wood. 12.5 millimeters, 0.492, so just under 1/2 inch thick. The handle depth in your grip area, the widest point's right there. That is 26.4 millimeters, 1.04 inches, so just over 1 inch, just under 1 inch. And when the knife is closed, the widest point that goes into your pocket is right here, 32.8 millimeters, 1.29 inches. Total length is right around 201 millimeters, which is 7.91 inches. So an almost 8-inch knife, that's not bad. I didn't do the balance point before, that's right there. I wouldn't mind if they skeletonized it a little bit more, but I don't think they really could skeletonize it much more. So that's pretty much what you get, not bad. And I don't really want the blade any thicker to make the overall weight heavier and stuff to fix the balance point. But that's good, that's a decent knife. How much does this knife cost? Well, this is, especially with the wood, it's in that sort of gentleman's folder category, at least almost in that category. For some people it is, for some people it won't be. Like I said, you can get this in other materials. They got a whole bunch of G10 colors. Most places you're going to find this for $68 US. At White Mountain Knives, you can save 10% with my coupon code CCE. That makes it $61.20, about 83 Canadian dollars. And unfortunately, I don't know of any stores in Canada that carry this. But like I said, it's a slip joint knife. It's going to cross the border, no problems. At least it 99.999% chance that it's going to cross the borders with no problems. And so it's safe to buy this from outside of Canada. And like I said, the front flipper version's the same price. Of course, there's some variants that are a tiny bit different price depending on where you shop, but that's roughly how much this knife costs. But thank you so much for watching. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, friends, cut towards your chum, not your thumb.